I was talking to Sammy about this. He was laughing so bad because I called him in my first month like, Sam, how far you to marry me, pa? He was laughing. See, the Nigerian thing, no. Hello.
Yeah, welcome back everyone. It's episode 38 of the Think Talk podcast, and we're super excited because we have a fun episode planned for today. Before we get into the fun though, there's something serious that I think we should discuss, and then we'll get into the fun part. Ibra, I think you have a better brief for this one, because the first topic that we're going to go through is the Jordan Peterson versus 20 young atheists. Anyways, I think you mentioned that it was supposed to be one Christian versus 20 atheists, but the Christian that was brought on the show was Jordan Peterson, and then it turned out into an interesting episode of, I forgot the name of the pod, by the way,
Jubilee.
but yeah, let us know what happened so we can then get into the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's an episode on Jubilee. It's a popular YouTube channel, and yeah, on the edition or on that episode, it was supposed to be one Christian versus 20 atheists, and it didn't go according to plan. And some of the discussions they talked about was the nature of God. That was one of the things, and also the role of science when it comes to like morality and the foundations of Christian ethics. So these are like the three things, right? So Jordan Peterson, he was supposed to be the Christian, like I said. So his argument was that there is no morality without Christianity. That was one of the stands, and
Yeah, I'm laughing because that's just outrightly that's mental. That's a very terrible position for someone like Jordan Peterson, because Jordan Peterson is a psychologist, right?
yeah,
So when he assesses his patients, the
psychologist.
moment they are not Christian, he assumes they are immoral.
that was the first one, and that's one of the troubling one for me as well, right? So the other one is also that I claimed that atheists are rejecting a concept of God that they don't fully understand. So it's like also
Okay.
arguing on their behalf because you don't really know, right? So, but then he actually said science cannot provide basis of morality. So you like outside of science, that it's only Christianity that can give you a sense of morality, and that the final one, that everyone inherently worships something, so that even though you say you don't believe, you worship something, either it's money, either it's power, either it's fame, or whatever. What do you think?
You know what? I think this is such an interesting conversation. I want to hold my mic because what the hell, Jordan? What are you doing? So the first one is saying there's no morality outside Christianity.
Yeah.
I find that very silly. There's the first question of his profession as a psychologist. Now, I respect Jordan Peterson a lot, but I think this actually brings to question what type of psychologist is Jordan Peterson. Because does it mean that when he has patients visiting him and they are not Christians, he just assumes that they are immoral and he judges all their actions, or at least assesses all their actions from that lens? That's a question for him to answer. The second bit is, what about the people that existed before Christianity? How did society form themselves? How did they engage with each other? The basis of morality has nothing to do with any religion, from my perspective. I think the basis of morality is basically within, depending on the time, it's a contract, right? Morality is a social contract for the time that we are in. Right, it's the same way, for example, what morality is today, what is acceptable as a moral action, a moral ground to stand on today, is very different from what was defined as morals in the 1700s, right? In the 1800s. It's different, especially, I think, even if there's no drastic change for what morals stand for men, for example, for women, it's a very different story. atheist. That's a big example. So honestly, I think Jordan is taking the piss there. Honestly, it doesn't make any sense. Now to the second point of science cannot stand in place of moral or explain morals. And outside science, the only thing that explains morality is Christianity. I think that sort of comparison is already silly. Science has nothing to do with morals as well. And science, I don't think, has ever tried to explain morals.
Because it does, actually, in my opinion. Like, that's, for me, it's also quite shocking, because that's supposed to be part of his work, right? That ethics basics, or the basis of ethics in classes and all, is about morality. And that's science, right? Social science.
That's the thing. Like, maybe what I defined as science was more physical and biological sciences.
Natural sciences. Okay.
Yeah, because social science, natural sciences, exactly. Social science is more sociology, and this is more the study of interactions within society. It's not necessarily science. Of course, you might carry out some experiments to understand it better.
Yeah.
But I think it's more observation and, again, agreement between members of a community. But that agreement does not have to be scientific.
But would you then argue that those sort of conclusions from social science cuts across most cultures all around the world, almost coming to the same conclusion? I would argue that, yeah, they are.
On morality?
Of morality and ethics, right? They can vary slightly, but when it comes to the fundamental bit about the human nature, right? Because it's the study of human nature at the end of the day, that it still boils down to mostly the same thing, in my opinion.
If you look at Norse, like the Nordics, back in the Viking era, there were certain things that would be considered immoral in the Viking era, that if you hear it now, it's terrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I use the Viking era because I'm watching a movie recently called Ghost, and there's this guy from back then, Thorfinn, blah blah blah, and interacting with today's world, and he would tell crazy stories about how, if you cannot, for example, fight, what is morally right for you to do would be to allow yourself be sacrificed for the god. And if you would not want to do that, that's absolutely immoral, because what's your responsibility in society? You can't fight, you cannot protect us, you're just extra mouth to feed.
That is culture, not ethics.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That defines what is defined as morals within their society. I think this brings us back to the conversation of good or bad that we had. And I think morals are generally tied to that, right? But I think if you live in a society that they accept certain things in a certain way, when you move in that direction, you will be seen as the morally upright and morally well-grounded person. So I think it's still related to culture, and that's why I'm saying it's not necessarily science. It's more tradition, culture, sociology, things that you observed, and common agreements between members of a community. And Christianity is just a community as well, right? It's an agreement between people that call themselves Christian, saying this is how we should act, this is what is defined as morals. Same with Islam, same with any other type of religion. But culture precedes all those things, right? A lot of cultures influenced Christianity. It's how Islam is supposed to seem super Arabian, simply because of the origin of Islam, right? Culture precedes all those things. So I think it's a very flawed position to say morality does not exist outside Christianity, but I think it's also fundamentally wrong to say science would explain morality, because science is supposed to be true, fact. It's not supposed to be wishy-washy moving around, right? It's also very funny because Neil deGrasse Tyson explained religion somewhat as similar to what Jordan Peterson is saying that atheists are basically at a position where they don't understand religion, something like this. But Neil deGrasse Tyson sort of explained that he defined religion as the ever-shrinking vacuum of the lack of knowledge about the world. So the more and more we learn and know through science, the less and less the void religion feels closes. So you can be religious and say, if you believe that as an atheist, if you're an atheist, it's ignorance, The thing is that atheists are also looking at the other side and thinking, yeah, for you being
Sorry.
religious as well, it's ignorance. There is a vacuum. We all agree that there is a vacuum. There's a void. I think no one can come and say we understand everything, we know everything. There's so much that we don't know. So that void exists. It's up to every individual to decide what they want to fill that void with.
So now, before you go to the next one, now I'm thinking, now that you sort of explained the social science bit that I was trying to argue, and that did make sense, right? So where is it then wrong? Because one of the arguments also was that atheists sort of accept the part of religion that talked about morality without accepting the religion. So where did the morals come from then? Because now I'm like wondering, where did I get the belief that not harming another person is good? Where did we get that idea from? We are not different from lower animals aside our consciousness that is super higher than like most of the other lower animals, right? And in the wild, anything goes.
That's a very good question, and I will answer in two ways. The first question is, were we all just killing each other as well before any of these religions?
For sure.
No.
There have been wars and conquering and everything, right?
And religion continued with that as well. So we knew that war was bad before religion. And religion also added to war, not end wars. And we all knew that it was still bad. It did not come from religion.
At one point,
Really?
sorry to cut you. At one point, a Nordic man, a Viking back in the day, did you realize that, you know what, maybe conquering and enslaving the wives of these people that we killed is bad? You know, that's like the thinking I
For
have.
two things. The moment they realized that there is more to gain by not killing. It's that simple. The moment they realized that it was better for them, it was better for the race, human survival, to not kill. It probably started from realizing that instead of killing everyone in the war, we can actually take them as slaves and they'll work our farms. And then it started shifting. Then you started seeing how slaves are being treated, and then start realizing that that person is not different from me. And then it's observation and deducing and and over time you have benevolent kings, merciful kings that then starts to say this is now law. I'm very sure that there's a very clear history on this that wouldn't be tied to religion. And if it's tied to something religious, it might just be a case of you have a benevolent leader that, because they were seen as merciful, became a part of the culture that influenced certain religions. Yeah, but that's how human functions, right? You can ask the question, when did we start to rear animals instead of just hunting them? When we realized that, we actually need to keep them for winter. We can actually finish all the wild ones if we don't make more.
Yeah.
And someone realized it and it became a system. That's it.
But that would be science to me, no? That's the argument I was trying to make, right? That the moment we started teaching what is good and bad and we sort of accept it generally, then ethics comes into play, and a lot of research and a lot of work went into that for us to see things and at least critically think, you know.
When they first discovered crude oil and they extracted it the way they did and refined it the way they did, in the ways that are not the cleanest ways, in those moments it was advancement in science. And then over time, the communal understanding and communal agreement changed. And now you need to do better with that as well for sustainability reasons. And it would be morally questionable to not care about that. But in the past, it wasn't morally questionable. Science still existed in all that. But the thing is, for moral agreements to hold in such a consensus type of way, that you're saying, well, when you look at the Quran, when you look at the Bible, when you look at the Torah, when you look at even non-believers, they still work with the you shouldn't someone else, you shouldn't do this. For that consensus to come into play, of course, you might need some sort of logical argument. Okay, well, maybe you might even find a scientific argument. But what is the scientific argument for not someone else?
Because the person is sort of an extension of you. Because whether we like it or not, it just feels like you are doing something to yourself. At least that's the way I see it. Because,
well, that's not science, is it?
Yeah, I know. It's still ethics, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's logic now. Yeah. You apply logic. Maybe that's the thing. logic is also, I think, standalone from science. Science is really fact-based. Science is really, we can observe that, we can research that, we can replicate that. That's, science.
But a lot of
is
science
truth.
is also logic. But yeah, it's not just that.
Logic is a very, very big part of science, because the flow of researching things, the flow of concluding, making inferences has to be logical. But logic is just standalone. That's the most powerful tool, by the way, in my own book. I wouldn't say it's science itself. It's, again, as I said. And then you made a third point on the nature of God, or what's the third one that you made?
So it didn't necessarily define what God is. It's like this argument, what is a woman? So they asked him like severally, and he was always dancing around the concept or the idea of who God is or what God is. And the atheists find that problematic.
It's tough, right? If you're religious, it's very clear what God is. And I think the education of Jordan or Professor Dr. Peterson is probably what's hindering him from being able to just simply give that Bible definition of God, or the Abrahamic religion definition of God, right? The omnipotent, omniscience, the all-knowing, the all-powerful, right? If you want to define God according to Islam, it's as simple as just knowing the 99 names of Allah, and it still won't be enough, because it's everything. This is fine if it fills the vacuum for you as an individual, right? Whatever you define God as, from my own perspective, if it fills that void that science cannot explain yet, good for you. I think no one in this world, I would argue that no one in this world is in a position to enforce any sort of thinking around God. There's no one today, right? The religions, they can be quite exclusive in their own way on this is how you get to God. But I think it's also unreasonable for them to want to force that on anyone else. Again, if we're saying there's a vacuum of our understanding, everyone has a choice to make on how they fill that vacuum. On a personal note, one of the issues that I do have with the Abrahamic religion is anthropomorphism, which is basically attributing human emotions and characteristics to God, right? God can be happy, God can be sad, God can be vengeful, God can be...
Bro, there's a lot of things I find problematic with it. Two things are that it knows all, and that it can be pissed and punish you. If he's all that good, why would he punish me? Why would he send me to hell? And if he knows what I'm going to do in the next 20 years, why would he still punish me? Because he already knows what I'm going to do.
And then this is a part where I would always argue that that's the part where every religious person and non-religious person should maybe pause a little bit and say, maybe when you want to define God, you can get a little bit flexible with that as well. Personally, I refuse to accept that. I refuse to accept that God is interested in punishing me for something. This does not mean that I should go ahead and become a rascal and mess around with people's life or whatever. But I refuse to accept that the God that is so benevolent is still interested in punishing me because for the of it I stole something.
Yeah, or I sleep off.
Exactly. Because I slept with someone outside marriage. In a world that is so unfair, we have this so much benevolent entity, merciful entity, all powerful. All powerful is key. And that entity is still interested in punishing me for sleeping with someone out of marriage. The impulse to sleep with someone outside marriage is so strong because it's so natural to us, and he has created that impulse in us and still tests us for the game,
to see
for the game of it.
Yeah.
I choose to reject that part of the definition because I'm saying the God that I would serve is really just benevolent, merciful, and all that stuff. It's in everyone, it's in every one of us, everywhere, and doesn't give a flying fuck about that minor that you think you're doing. Just be a good person. Don't be worried that God is going to burn you in everlasting hell. And then the punishment is not even commensurate. Like, what did I do? That I will now have to burn in hell forever?
They say they will get. Is that
The
Islam
forever
or
part is also
Christianity?
crazy, no?
Is that Islam or Christianity that you get some angels, like seven virgin, no, not angels, seven virgins when you die
In
or
paradise.
something. Yeah,
I guess that's Islam. That's
some
Islam.
people
Yeah.
be like, give me the virgins now. I don't want them.
What's the point of a virgin in What's the point of a virgin in heaven? I think it's just it's very well curated poetry. That's interesting.
I need
I
the
don't want to
seven
get on
virgins
anyone's nerves.
now, bro.
Yeah, I don't want to get on anyone's nerves. I respect all religion, but I think religious people should also respect atheists, agnostics, non-religious people, non-organized religious people. Every one of those people should be respected for their choices as well. And I believe that some religions actually teaches that, yeah, you should respect people for whatever choice they make. And that would be my strongest conclusion here, that everyone has a right to decide how to fill that vacuum, and whatever anyone chooses, there's no point forcing the other to. No one can stand in front of me. If Jubilee will see this podcast episode, I'm happy to go in front of anyone that will prove to me that they are 100% certain that the route that they have chosen is the true one.
Though that's part of the problem, that it couldn't also define the nature of God, and that's a problem in its own, right?
Yeah, because maybe there's no true one. Maybe we're all fine. How about that? Why can't we be fine? Why?
Now is our consciousness is messing exactly. That how are we so sentient and conscious? It can't be random. How do we become beings? That's like the question we all have right now. Religions are trying to sort of solve, right? So
Yeah, but aren't we selfish with the way we are solving it? We look at the beauty, the expanse of the whole world.
Yeah.
And in finding that purpose, we, Abrahamic religion at least, have defined that we, humans, are the only ones with a purpose
For sure.
in this entirety of the globe.
For sure.
Or the universe. We humans are the only ones with a purpose. Plants, zero purpose. Let's say plants are even a little bit lower class type of living entity.
Yeah.
What about animals? Dogs, zero purpose. Cats, zero purpose. Only humans will be judged. Only humans. That's a very, very selfish way to view the whole world. Many of these plants, according to the evolutionary theory, many of these plants and animals came before us. And we
are
the only
nothing
ones
without
with a
them.
purpose.
Like,
Yeah,
isn't that the
and
reason
we are
why?
the only ones with a purpose.
Yeah.
They're happy to accept that the purpose of those ones is just to be here and go. Maybe even to feed us. They like religious people are happy to accept that. But they will not accept that, okay, maybe our own purpose is also just to feed in ground so that plants can survive.
That's the argument, right? Like from a plant's point of view, or from I forgot the conspiracy. It was a joke, right? That like earthworms are supposed to be the main guys because we are food for them, and every other thing revolves around them. So we are going into the
Solid
soil whether we
argument.
like it or not. So they are like the
Solid argument, my brother. Solid argument. And before we die, we already contribute some things positively, negatively in our own perspective to the world. So we do have a role to play while we're alive within this earth that we are on.
Yeah.
Why is that not our own purpose? Why do we have to have this higher purpose of when you die, then there's judgment? Why can't we just be the same way they think plants are?
So the final one, before we round this up, that everyone inherently worships something. Either it's money, either it's this, either it's pop, like fame. Either it's,
I would argue that worship is a strong one, right? Whatever you fill that vacuum with, it doesn't have to be worshiping.
Exactly.
This is again looking at it from the lens of religion.
Yeah.
I can fill that vacuum with whatever. I don't worship anything. Full stop. Yeah, and I just fill that vacuum with the acceptance of ignorance. I don't know what's there, but that's cool. Good. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So are they telling me that religious people, if Mr. Jordan or Dr. Jordan is interested in trying to say, well, if it's either you choose God or money, he himself, what does he think about money? Is God substituting money for him? So to try to make it seem like it's because you don't have God that you then worship other things, guess what? Even the most religious people are casually also worshiping other things. Because other things make the world go round.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so I disagree with the word of you have to worship something. Yeah?
Yeah.
And if you worship something, it's not necessarily true that it's a replacement for Abrahamic religion. And I keep saying Abrahamic religion or
For sure.
religion in general. I completely disagree with that one. Yeah, you can fill that void with whatever. As I keep repeating it over and over again, just to make it clear that we're not saying there's one clear direction, and we're saying you have a choice. Don't let anyone fool you. You have a choice. There's no point for all this argument unless you're trying to force someone to be one way, which makes no sense.
I think suggesting that you prioritize or you worship something that you prioritize for me is a problem because he was just playing semantics.
So he's worshiping multiple gods because for sure Dr. Peterson is worshiping money then, if we go by his own statement. God did not substitute money for him. No, we're both on this internet. Dr. Peterson is doing a lot to make sure he continues to remain relevant and make a ton of money. He cares about money. And it's so unfortunate that we're discussing Dr. Peterson on the pod for the first time and
it's not in a good light.
Because I do respect him, but it's not in a good light here.
I feel sad for him, bro. These boys were rude. They were mostly Gen Z, bro. There was just one older person. Bro, that was one boy.
Goodness.
We should definitely add this part.
I was under the impression I was invited to talk to a Christian. Am I not talking to a Christian?
No, you were invited to.
I think everyone should look at the title of the YouTube channel. You're probably in the wrong YouTube video.
You're really quite something, you are.
Aren't I? But you're really quite nothing, right? You're not a Christian.
Okay, I'm done with him.
It was like he was playing all these semantics for a whole minute, and he mentioned something about, yeah, what is nothing? Nothing is this and that. Then he said all these sort of, and I was confused. The boy was apparently also confused. Then he responded, then you are nothing, Mr. Peterson. Everyone was like, hey, then you are also nothing. Wow. At most, that boy will be like 18 or 17, if not young.
What was his reaction?
Everyone was shocked. He said, I'm done. He said, I'm done with him. So, another person has to come. He said,
felt disrespected, eh?
I mean, that was quite
It was disrespectful.
I know they had some very valid points, but I feel like, yeah, nah.
You can do it in a more respectful way.
Nah, yeah.
I think the issue is that young people today, they are very much into their own person and they don't see the age. They're just seeing the point you're making, in the sense of the moment Dr. Peterson is making his point about religion as well, all they are hearing is, you're telling us we are ignorant. We are this. Yeah. And they're like, nah, we're not. You are the ignorant one. We have to make that point clear. Yeah, and they don't see the age. They don't see any of the other thing.
Yeah.
They're just seeing the what? What is my saying?
Yeah, man, he went for it.
That's a serious part. Although it's still a little bit interesting. We are curious to know, learn what you guys think in the comment section. Let's have a conversation about this. I have to say, we are very happy to have conversations. Maybe it will help a lot of people. But I have to say that my position on everyone should decide what works for them, I'm on that ground super strongly, that I don't see anyone convincing me otherwise. So when you comment to share your own thoughts and opinions, to put it out there. We'll stand as a platform for that. But please don't address me directly trying to change my mind. It's not going to work. Okay, that was very nice. So let's go into the more fun part, because we knew that when we talk about this, it's going to be a very delicate one, and I know that I haven't approached it with so much delicacy as well. But I would then say let's go into a more fun part of the episode. And for this episode, we're going to call this next session, that is also broken into 3 subsections, the favorite everything section. And the first part, we're going to have a quick run through this or that. Ibra, are you ready? It's going to be this or that. I'm going to throw it to you, and then you simply just tell me which one you prefer.
So you're also going to tell me yours, right?
Yeah. So I'll throw it out. You tell me yours, I'll tell you. Okay, so this or that. The first one, morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Me too, man.
Definitely
night owl. Every day, every time, man. Night owl. Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Savory, right? Yeah, me too,
Yeah.
man. Me too. If you had asked me this one like 15 years ago, maybe I would have said sweet. But for now, for
Nah.
sure, definitely savory,
I
man.
was never sweet, man. I think that's one thing everyone I've been with in terms of romantic partners have been shocked. Like, see, nah, bro, I don't like sweet things. Not because I don't, my tongue doesn't actually. The taste of very strong sweet stuff on my tongue is so shocking to my brain that I just can't, man, bro.
Can't do
Yeah.
it, yeah. Yeah, when things are too sweet as well, it's too sharp. I don't know if that's a way to describe it.
Yeah.
It just feels
Yeah.
sharp, like my throat is getting cut into pieces. Yeah, but for sure savory as well. iPhone or Android?
You know now, the iPhone guy. I think we disagree on that one, man. I know for sure for you
finally,
it's Android.
Android, Android, any day, anytime.
Android for you.
Yeah, any day, anytime, man. Coffee or tea?
Bro, it's both for me actually. I'm sorry I can't choose.
You can't choose between coffee or tea.
My morning is coffee and when I'm sleeping is tea. I've been doing this for like the last couple, yeah, like for a long, so it's both.
Long time, yeah. I see.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm definitely a tea guy. I stopped taking coffee because I had that terrible experience when I was drinking coffee a lot when I started with the bank back then, and it turned me into a zombie. I was living on coffee, sleeping just 3 hours and stuff. Terrible sleep as well. And then I just completely dropped coffee, and I've been a tea guy ever since. Text or call?
Call for sure. Voice notes.
Yeah.
You know, it's efficient.
Same here, man. Call, man. 100% call. What would you prefer, read minds or time travel?
Time travel would be safer. When I was younger, by the way, I wanted the superpower of being able to read minds. If you watch this series called Heroes, right? There's this
Yeah.
lady that I was so fascinated by the idea. But right now I'm thinking about it, man. There's no other way than you would yourself in 5 years of reading people's mind. There is no other way.
Yeah. I'm trying to see how it will be effective. Because you can read minds and not know how to change things, like what to do to fix it. But with time travel, you can basically try something and go back again without being able to read their mind. You actually see the outcome and then quickly go back 5 minutes, do something else, and see the next outcome and go back again.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would definitely go time travel as well. Save or spend?
Spend, actually.
you know my answer to this one as well, man. I'm not big on savings. I want to say what's left after spending, which is, guys, this is not financial advice. Please don't do it. But I'm definitely a spend guy too, man. Just spend. Life is too short. Plan ahead or go with the flow.
That's interesting, man.
This one is tough, yeah?
No, I changed. As you asked the question, I saw the change that I made. Before it was always spontaneous. It's like, yeah, I can do it now, whatever. But nah, I have to plan ahead now. For me to actually fully appreciate, yeah, or be fully present. Let me use the word. Yeah. So plan ahead.
Plan ahead, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think there's only one scenario where I wouldn't plan ahead. Fun. For fun, 100% go with the flow. But everything else, plan ahead.
Even with fun is what I'm thinking, man. Even with fun, I feel like I need some mental space to be ready to really sort of feel like, oh yeah, this is going to happen. It's going to be fun than just jumping into it. Like, yeah, let's do it.
I see. I want to have those go with the flow opportunities when it comes to having fun, right?
Yeah, I know what
Like
you're-
Europe
yeah.
has sort of turned me into a planning fun kind of guy too, but I feel like I'm missing out on those spontaneous ones.
I think it's Germany actually.
Like when
Because I'll argue in Spain or Portugal is different. Yeah. It's
I see.
Germany.
Could be Germany. That's true. That's true. Book or movies?
It depends. So if I have to choose, man, I'd say books.
That's actually interesting. I would have said books as well, but if I'm being honest with what I really consume the most nowadays, movies. And I'm a big cinema guy as well, so I think I'll go movies. Because I mean, I used to read books a lot, and I enjoy reading books. I've just not read a lot these days. In recent years, I've not read a lot. I have a collection of some books that I bought. I think I have like 11 of them. I'm on the second one for like the past 8 months, man. It's like 300 pages.
I feel like
It's like a
good
sleep
book.
thing for me. It's by the bedside. I read 3 pages and I fall asleep. And then I don't open it for another 5 months. I take it everywhere when I travel, but I still don't read it.
I don't do it for, I mean, I do it for knowledge or whatever, because I'm almost always reading self-improvement books, right? But it's more like when I really need to focus or focus on my focus, I could be in a space where like I can't enjoy a movie if I'm super stressed. There's nothing you can do that I will be there, but I'm not present. I'm like, yeah, I'm in the cinema, but I'm not really feeling it. But books will like sort of bring me back to the present moment, and I think that's why for sure, like book has that extra power like that I like.
That actually makes sense. Yeah, if you really want to read a book, you need to come here and read. And with movies, you can do every other thing by the side.
Yeah.
And lastly, for today, we'll continue this or that in other episodes. But for today, the last one is logic or vibes.
Definitely logic for
It's
me,
in-
man, bro. Vibes,
Yeah.
man, nah. Vibes not problem,
Vibes,
bro.
bow. What?
Vibes not
Yo,
problem, man.
nah. Yeah, same here, man. 100%. So that's this or that. The next subsection in this favorite everything section is
Yeah.
the more personal story. The first thing that I'm curious about would be your favorite childhood memory.
How much time do I have? Is this like a brief story or just
Yeah, I
say
mean,
whatever?
just give us the story. One here.
I have two in my mind right now. I'm trying to pick one. So there was this day. I'm not sure how old I was. Probably like 10, 11. I think it's one of the few moments that I have on myself, like spending quality time with family. It wasn't anything extra. It's either like a Saturday or Sunday. It was on a weekend, right? So we went to, you should know this place. It's called Tantalizers.
Yeah, no tantalizers. Yeah.
So yeah, we just went out with my dad, my mom, my siblings. Then we got like, I guess, I didn't even have full meat pie, all right? So I had to share one with my with my brother and with one bottle of Coke or whatever. I was so happy that till now, man, when I still think about it, I'm like, wow. I don't know why, but it just feels super special, man.
Wait, what made it super special like that? Like what
Because
made
we
it
don't
like
we don't do that often, you know. It's like, and when we do, usually my dad will maybe just buy it and bring it home, but he had to get in his car. We were like we drove there, and we were all together like ordering in front of the, so like being in this place. And you know, Tantalizers, like they used to be really like they were nice to be inside, and also yeah, I just keep having this memory of like, oh, we were out doing cool stuff and I had meat pie. Funny thing, I didn't actually also know that meat pie was a Nigerian thing until I moved to Germany. I was talking to Sammy about this. He was laughing so bad because I called him in my first month like, Sam, how fiber at marry meat pie? He was laughing. See, the Nigerian thing, no.
the thing is, I'm not sure it's a Nigerian thing. I think it's British. I know they brought it to Nigeria because in the UK you get
Oh,
mince
it's in
pie
the UK.
in the
Oh, I
stores.
haven't been to the UK. Okay, so yeah, that
You
makes
get
sense.
mince
I was
pie
like,
in like even the vending machines and stuff. So I realized that a lot of the snacks that we have in Nigeria that are
yeah.
not local snacks, a lot of them are actually British snacks. But we added the Nigerian twist to it. So it's a bit different. Yeah. So you get something 80% like the mince pie in Nigeria in the UK. Hey, it's not more international than UK and
I
maybe
thought
West Africa or
I would
something.
see it in every country in like Europe or
Only the colonies, my
and
brother.
he said there was something close to it. Like, there's this thing called kebab. You know, Sammy actually introduced me to kebab. And that was his breakfast. I swear. I hated kebab the first few months. I'm like, this is not even close. It's not
Okay, that's interesting. Those type of childhood memories are for sure. Yeah, for sure. It sticks, like I actually have one that's similar, but it was more I was sick and then my dad decided that he would come pick me up from school while when I was already getting better, and then he took me to a very solid amala joint. But he did that so many times that they would just be like, "Oh, we don't want you to eat Mr. Biggs or Tantalizers," and then they would take us to these amala joints, like hot amala and stuff like that. Of course, we still had Tantalizers and Mr. Biggs, especially through my uncle, because my cousins were also in the same primary school, and they would just come pick us up. But I had a lot of memories like that. That I wouldn't say this was my favorite one. I think my favorite one was a bit selfish. I'll tell you the story. So I think I went to a very, very Islamic secondary school. You know this, primary school. Sorry. And in primary school, I was usually first in my class for the first 2 terms. And then in the third term, when they merged the two classes, either first or second, but most times second, because in the second class, there was a lady that's like a family friend. Her name is Miriam. She was super good as well. And we would always fight this first or second thing. And a lot of people, because we were also family friends, when they came to pick us, because we were both in boarding house, when our parents come to pick us, they know each other. Sometimes only my parents come and they pick all of us, or our parents and they take all of us, because we also lived super close to each other, same estate. And a lot of people would be like, oh, Miriam is your wife. Miriam is your wife and all that stuff. And I have this very strong memory of the day where we were doing prep class. It was after school, and then we had this evening prep class. And I remember sitting in the class and the teacher was just making a joke like, you guys are going to get married and have kids. And as a joke, when are you going to get married? We were like kids. It was like primary 3 or primary 4. And she was there sitting there. I was looking at her, a shy boy, just looking at her. And bro, she was so confident. She was basically just saying like, oh yes, we'll have 3 kids. We'll have, and it stuck to my head because in that school,
For sure. I'm thinking the same, man. I would think that
I was going crazy. I was going crazy because I was now the boy in the school that had it all, Like school stuff is going well. I've got a girl. She's also the best in her class, and she's down for it. Like she's locked in,
That's crazy.
But yeah, that's a that's a memory that stuck in my head. Even though we didn't really know what it meant. I actually saw her because she ended up in my uni as well. She came a bit later. I think I was already in my 3rd year when she started. By the time that she started, she went to the same secondary school of my primary school, very Islamic as well. And at this time, she had already covered her face. Like she had like a niqab, hijab, but with the face covered as well.
Yeah.
And usually when you do that, there are 3 reasons why people do that. One is if you choose to do it, if your dad recommends you do it, or your husband. So I thought she was married, and I saw her sister. And this is a very funny story. Her sister said, Miriam now covers her face. And I'm like, okay, maybe I will see you with her one day, and then I'll finally meet her again and talk to her, right? This was after secondary school. We had not seen each other for like 10 years. Then one day I went to night class with my friend. We were walking in the hallway in school, and I saw a lady fully covered. I haven't seen her in school before. Something in my head just looked at this fully covered lady and thought, that's Miriam. I swear to God.
Click.
I was just looking at her. Again, I went to Unilore in Kwara State. A lot of people also covered their faces anyways. In fact, that night I had already seen like 4 different Eleha. We call them Eleha in Nigeria, in Yoruba land in Nigeria. So I saw many Eleha people with covered with niqabs and all the stuff, and I never thought they were her. But then I saw her and I thought, that's Miriam. And I went close and I said, Salamu alaikum, Miriam. Wa alaikum salam. I swear it was her.
That's crazy.
I swear it was her. And then I asked her, I didn't say, how are you? I didn't say anything. I just looked at her and I said, why? She was a very pretty lady, by the way. I said, why? And then she said, because it's the will of Allah. But I was just like, alhamdulillah. Yeah, I wish you.
Were you still praying then?
It was like, no. 3rd year uni. Yeah, I was still praying. Yeah, for sure. 3rd year uni, I was still praying. But I wasn't as religious as before anymore.
You were already going.
Yeah, I was praying. I was doing Ramadan. I was fasting. I was doing all those things. Yeah, but I wasn't on the same level as she was. She was like hot religious, like
my thinking was probably she married someone, but she didn't, and she
she didn't. Okay. It was just the will of Allah. And a lot of the guys that ended up in the same secondary school of this, my primary school, a lot of them ended up covering their faces. It was, how in secondary school, when something was hip, like let's say the coolest guy in the school comes in with, this is how we switch to pencil trousers, right? I started secondary school, it was all bootcut, right? Then at some point, some cool kids decided that pencil that
It's
I've
no
seen
more
on the
the thing.
TV is the
Yeah.
way to go.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
everyone switched somehow. And then we even went to pencil and shorter than before, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that school, it was sort of the cool thing. Like as you
So
go
do
through that school, your senior cover their face, you're like, I want to do it too. I want to do it too. I mean, this was my own explanation, because it's
that's
just the
definitely
environment and what they knew.
exactly. That's why our
Yeah.
parents send us to certain schools, bro, because of the morals that
Yeah.
are being kept in those schools or what they are known
Yeah.
for. Like one of the secondary schools I went to also is because we had a lot of legends, if you may. Like we had people finished from the school that were like big politicians in the country, and it's called. I went to like Abel Grams, and we had this other one called Baptist Boys High School. Those are like the height of any like public school in Abeokuta back then. She's like, oh, you are in, bro, it's a medal of honor. Actually, I have to change my story because you were talking about this, the beginning of your story. I'm like, sounds like mine. Then I remember this, like, this has to,
Bonus.
So, like, the actual one, and I think there is no memory of my childhood that would beat this, right? It was also school related. I think I told you this story before. I was in primary 2, and usually at the end of the third term, right? You know how these schools, they would do this result. And yeah, I was always the first, right? Then it's like, I always had it. So it's something that I'm looking forward to because then my dad and my grandpa, my maternal grandpa, they will give me a present before being, the first. And you know how these schools, like how the primary schools are structured, right? Like you have A, B, C, D sometimes, you have like primary 2A, primary 2B. So I was only for my 2B. So my school would have this end of the year event, right? Where they celebrate like the best students of each class and everything. And usually what would happen is they would give each like class the best student. So I wasn't overall primary 2 best student. I was just primary 2B's best student. And they never did that before. So all of a sudden they just said, now they are going to like, I didn't know. Actually, I didn't know. So they were calling like, the best student for primary 1, the best student for. So I thought, okay, cool. Then it reached primary 2, right? They just called like 1 out of all. I think I was third. So they called first, second, then I was third. Then my mom was begging me to go. I didn't go. So I didn't get my present because I thought, all I do is thought that I went there my phone. Bro, it was crazy. Then I left. Then I was crying for hours, bro. I think, that's why I have to share this story. I was crying, and I don't know why. Probably because of the gifts that I get normally. But so they sort of did the overall. So I was like the first in my class too, but I was third.
But
Yeah.
in my school, we also just did overall. Yeah,
Bro, I was crying.
like when we do the so they will tell you your grade, you never get present for it in first and second term. Then third term, they will merge 2A and 2B and just give you overall. So you hated, your favorite childhood memory is how much you hated losing that gift then.
Bro, I was like 7 or 8, man. I remember what I was wearing. I remember the room I was, and this was so old. Like, this is a long time ago, man.
Yeah, I know. Today, we have a lot of streamers. Who is your favorite streamer today?
I think easy for me it would be Kaisena. I don't watch all these guys. I don't even know how to go watch them live. I just see clips from Instagram and TikTok, right? But from everything that I've seen, I think he's one of the guys who is like, who has English mentality, who is level-headed, right?
Level-headed.
Like,
I see.
It's calm. I like Speed too, but Speed's content for me can be too exaggerated. That's why I wouldn't choose him. But I love Speed for so many. I think he's funnier. I think he is really out there doing what he really likes. I think he shows more passion in his sense than most of these other guys.
I have to say, I mean, because you're talking about Speed already, Speed is my own favorite streamer. I don't watch them as well. I don't know how to. I only see YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. And I know you're smiling like, how come Speed? The reason that I like Speed It's actually more how I perceive his character as this young boy that has no ill feeling, hatred, nothing in his mind. Like I've seen him in spaces where people are actively trying to put him in his place somewhat, and it's so pure that it's as if he doesn't notice it. I remember it was with Kevin Durant. Logan Paul invited Speed because Speed was around and they know that he has a good following, he has a good energy. Logan was going to interview Kevin Durant on his pod and they invited Speed.
Come on, bro. Stop talking to me like I need advice on.
It's
how to
whatever.
pick
No.
up
Trust me. He got his heart broken once.
No, I
used to be
didn't.
just
Stop,
like him.
bro.
I used to be just like him, like
What-
around,
see, every
around a
time
year
I
ago.
explain my stairs to people, they say shit like
No,
this.
I
Like,
get it,
"Damn,
though."
bro. You just been hurt, or you just, bro. I enjoy spending time with. It's just not as long as maybe you like to spend time with people, man.
Bro, that
2
one
days for me is cool.
But
Then
that
I'm-
one
then
hand
I'm-
won't last, bro, forever, bro. You need something that's gonna.
Hand.
You don't need no. I'm
Bro,
gonna
you
argue on his
16,
side.
bro. You cannot compare yourself to me and you 16, bro. You have no other resource but your hand. So please don't put me in the same, you know what I mean, tier as you.
And Speed was just being himself, but there were like many moments that Kevin Durant was trying to let him know, look, I'm Kevin Durant.
To
relax,
put him in
you
his
know,
place.
like,
Yeah.
but even though sometimes it hits him, the way he quickly shakes it off, the way he just goes on
I don't think
without
it
having
fits
any
him.
sort
I know
of
what
bad
you're
blood.
talking about. I know what you're describing.
You see it as well when you watch CBS. Sometimes Thierry Henry wants to make him like relax a little bit, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't see it. It just doesn't feel it. And at first that thing, I wasn't sure what was going on. I watched one other video of Speed that made me conclude that what was going on was just her seeing this pure guy that has not allowed the world to taint
To
him, and it
influence
just
him.
focuses on his job, and is so good at his job, right? Is absolutely number one from my own book at the moment. Is everywhere. Is meeting all the people you can think of, from presidents to like
He definitely has a good management.
Kai Cenat,
I'll give him
exactly. Kai
has
Cenat,
it.
for example, would meet with a celebrity, blah, blah. Speed is meeting with sheikhs, the president of that, the president of country.
that. I think it's that part is management thing though. Because Kai had the opportunity to, he turned down Netflix, Amazon, and this.
But that's different. Speed probably has gotten those ones as well. I think it's what makes Speed an interesting invite for the president of a country. Like, forget the celebrities now. I remember a video where Speed went into, I don't know if it's the president of Indonesia or something, and Speed was handshaking. It was good, bro. It was himself in front of this president, and this president just, followed through with it. Or when the president of FIFA, Infantino, like, he's able to be himself in front of everyone. It was just at the UEFA Champions League final, came to Germany, eating kebab.
I saw that.
Just vibing with Jamie and Micah, and at the end, it was there with PSG.
Something similar
celebrating
also
the
tried
president.
happening. They were trying to also do that like yesterday, or was it 2 days ago?
But
UEFA
it
final.
doesn't let it affect
didn't
him. The
really see
president of PSG was there with Speed,
Yeah.
taking
Yeah.
pictures, and they were all happy to be there because his energy is so contagious. There were people that have been like this, that a lot of people said negative things about them. But it's so difficult to say negative things about Speed when he does it, because you sort of accept his purism. When Sop Bay was doing this thing, was it at the World Cup with Argentina? Everyone told him, sit down. And I've seen Kai Cenat in moments where he allows those things to get to him. I remember he was trying to talk to some people at one of these Hollywood events recently.
Nah, it's okay. Like niggas be so weird, bro. I got God on my side, bro. So a lot of weird things that people try to do, you can't do it. It's not gonna phase you. You're not gonna.
And Kai, under his breath, was saying, "Oh, I see what they're trying to do, man. It's as if they're trying to ignore him, but God is bigger than them." And
That's the Met
those
Gala. I
things-
saw that.
But was it the Met Gala? Those things are getting to Kai. You see Kai, because Kai is a little bit more serious than Speed. But when I see Speed, how he handles his business, I know that he's serious about his business. I know that he's hardworking. He said something. He told Jamie Carragher that, I can be a pro footballer if I train for football for the next 2 years the way I train for my streaming. The way I train for my streaming. So what we see is hard work, right? And in that hard work, he still allows himself to be so pure. Then I saw something. I saw when Speed was still super young. I saw a video. So at first I was thinking, why is he not noticing this? It's a special boy somehow. I was thinking, why is he not noticing this? Why is this not happening? And then I saw a video. Well, when Speed was streaming as a young boy, as a much younger guy at home. And his mom was going high.
Hey, you're good. Hey, you're good. Chill. Stop. No, you stop. Nigga. Okay, I'm streaming right now. You always doing this when I'm streaming.
Yeah.
Like
It doesn't have
basically
a
almost
good
as if his mom
relationship
was
with her.
telling him, you never make it. Stop that streaming. And Speed would just stand in front of this screen, almost crying. And still, day by day, all he's still trying to do is get his mom to say, Mommy, tell me you love me. And you see him almost in tears,
Approval.
right?
Yeah.
All that happened. Steve made it to this stage now. And he would still invite his mom to him getting awards. I still saw Speed inviting that same mom to join him to award shows and stuff. Of course, he's much closer with his dad. But that purism, just saying, well, she did that, but it's gone. It's what it is. I fell in love with Speed when I watched that video. They created it so well. I was just like,
Yeah, I mean, for sure. For me, the part is I just feel like it can be extra with some reaction, especially when he met Ronaldo, for example. He was over the moon, and I get it, man. Ronaldo is sort of.
I
an
think that's how
idol
he
to him,
actually
and
genuinely feels. You know what? You know why I feel like he genuinely feels like that? Everywhere you see Speed now, after meeting Ronaldo, months later, he bought a Lamborghini, painted it all Ronaldo CR7.
Have you seen his
Yesterday-
Instagram?
Bro,
Yes, Ronaldo's
yesterday.
on doing his Instagram. Oh my
Yes,
God.
now. Bro, yesterday when he went to the UCL, guess what jersey he was wearing in a PSG versus Inter Milan final? Portugal,
Yeah, I saw
Ronaldo.
that. Yeah, Ronaldo's spot. I think
Portugal,
Ronaldo
Ronaldo.
signed he must have given him personally because that shit, man.
But you see that over the head feeling, I was with you and I'm on the same page as you because sometimes I'm like, is he overreacting? And then I actually realized that
Now you sort of feel like you know him personally. Yeah, I think that makes a difference because I don't feel like I know him like that. I just feel like, guy, calm down. But if I feel like, oh, I know genuinely, or I feel genuinely that that's how he is, I don't think I will have a problem with him also, yeah.
Yeah. But Kai is doing amazing stuff as well. And I see Kai as a much more mature, calculated businessman with his training.
Yeah, he is, man.
Speed seems
is.
like a boy just taking the world by
Having
the
fun.
truth and he's just doing it. So, and maybe that's another thing to appreciate of someone that works so hard, that his management are so organized, and he still managed to look so chaotic.
What do you think about Kai Cenat's Streamers University? Talking about streamers now.
I think what they did there was amazing. I mean, we talked about it in our last episode as well. The Streamer University, yeah, that was amazing. What they did with that one. I have to say, that's why I'm saying Kai is a businessman. He's a calculated guy. He's making massive moves.
Yeah.
Because Kai sort of, with the Streamers University thing, cemented himself as the leaders of streamers.
I swear to God, that's the
president of
strategy
streaming.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's moving in that direction that when they say streaming, I want to be the guy that you're like, oh, who was the VC of Streamers University? Kai Cenat. Who was the, you know,
yeah.
that was the university where everyone was, DDG was, streamers from all over the world, the most international, the biggest. Kai is moving in that direction. Such a calculated move, and it worked really well as well. Yeah, because now you also then have another thing is Kai's network is strong directly. I think Speed was also there. Should I tell you the funny thing? I watched a video where this Streamers University idea was generated.
Yo, chat, what if I did a summer camp stream over a course of like a week or a weekend and invited like the craziest singers, dancers, people with talent, and it'll be just a big Camp Rock. To be singing it. A big Camp Rock, bruh.
You know, be fire.
What?
We do like a
Guess who and who were streaming when they had this idea?
Speed and Kai.
And guess what? Kai had an entirely different idea. Guess who came up with the exact idea that turned into Streamers University?
Speed. That's
I'm
crazy.
telling you, we have to put the video somewhere. The content that I watched tried to pass a particular message. I think the person preferred Speed as well, for one reason or the other. But then they created the content in such a way that they were emphasizing on the way Kai pitched the idea and what Speed said in return. So let's say Kai said something like, I am thinking of doing something like this.
Yeah.
And Speed was just eating. He was just looking at Kai, smiling. And when Kai was done, Speed was just like, we could. And the emphasis was on Kai was I, Speed was we.
That's real. Yeah.
We could have like a university. And then turned into Streamers University. And I think Speed was a teacher on there as well, I think. I can't remember.
Like, they call them professors. I'm not sure, but you
Professor
should
on
be.
there.
It might
I can't
be,
remember.
yeah.
But you get the point. That guy is such an open, free soul. And, Kai did it and is still participating, not on a we level.
Yeah.
Kai, you need me, I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm popping out that I have the UCL. That's the spirit. And he's thinking, he's keeping himself mentally alert. It's like things are coming. Before you know it, Speed has done another thing. Bro, that guy jumped on his stream in the car with Jamie and Micah. Within seconds, 96,000 viewers. Micah was like, what?
Bro, these boys, these whole Champions League, they just see the power he holds. No, it's not only because he's a chill, but they see like guy come around. We want you to.
He's very
put us
international
on.
as well. Maybe that's another thing to add onto it. That Speed's viewership and Kai's viewership. Maybe that's why a lot of presidents from other countries and other stuff.
I see. Yeah, that's
Maybe the American president. I mean, of course, yeah.
Kai would be much
Kamala
more.
actually, Kamala wanted to go to Kai. Kamala wouldn't go to Speed.
Yeah.
Because Kai has that American viewership, a little bit more mature people as well. Maybe this was can actually vote.
Yeah.
But Speed, that's the international superstar.
China, Brazil.
That's the international
everywhere,
superstar.
Man.
Nah, Speed is the world. Yeah, Speed is the world. I show Speed. And you know what's crazy about it as well? He makes certain brags and stuff, and the way he keeps to it, the backflips, the running. And he's always ready to go, and he really does his best to, I saw a bunch of YouTubers. It was Logan Paul, it was Mr. Beast, it was Speed, it was Kai running on the treadmill, on this big treadmill, and they were all falling off. I don't know if you've seen the video. We should put it somewhere here. It was only Speed and either Jake, I think it was Jake or Logan, that remained at the last one. I think Speed won. Like, he keeps this fitness thing. He's just doubling down on many things. It's a very impressive boy. Very. But enough on that. But the next obsession is a very interesting one. It's the last obsession for today. And it's again story time. But yeah, your prompt is different. What's your favorite toxic trait that you secretly admire in yourself? It's toxic, but you're like, what? I know, but yeah, I like it.
I would say that will be one main point, and I'll have a sub on that because they are sort of related. I would say my admired toxic trait would be that I don't feel like, not like I don't feel like, I know for a fact that I don't need a romantic relationship to be happy. If there's anything at all that is true, I would say the opposite. Inversely would also be true. That maybe when I'm then in a relationship, I'm like less, I don't know. And it's not something that I feel like, I want it to go away or whatever. Or like, it's quite like toxic because I don't think being
only when you're
single
in a relationship
alone.
I think it's toxic when you're in a relationship, right?
No. That I don't need to be in a relationship to be happy. So in a sense, I'm saying like I'm fine being alone for as long as I can, which in the real sense of things, right? You would argue that no one is really supposed to be alone like that, if that makes sense.
You can have other types of relationship. I think romantic relationship, not wanting that I don't think that's toxic. It's a choice. I think what would be toxic would be you're now in a relationship and you still feel like I don't need to be in here. Like you're in a relationship, but your energy is still I don't need to be in this relationship. Then that would be toxic for your girl.
I don't think that's because that's likely true, but not in entirety, like not entirely in that way. I feel like a lot of people also, a lot of women would struggle to know how to be there for you if you are used to doing a lot of things yourself. There's this popular saying, right? Like if you have been single for a long time or whatnot, that it's difficult to really readjust because it's a comfortable life in a way because you don't have to report to anyone in the sense of this whole partnership thing. You don't have to really, you can just be wherever I want. There's this level of freedom to it that it's actually toxic. And that's the point that I was trying to make. So the sub of that is that I feel like by extension, that also, I feel like when it comes to sexual relationship or when it comes to sex, I like to believe, I carefully use that word, that no woman would have such power over me to be able to control me with. And it has happened before. Probably I learned from that. I mean, not probably I did. Some will be like, oh, is it trauma response? I don't care. But at this point, I feel like there's no woman on this planet, regardless. There is actually, that there are lots of them, but they will not have that power, if that makes sense. So it's like, oh, it's cool to have sex with you. It's cool to be in this, but if slightly 1% chance you turn that or use that against me, I'm out. So that would be it.
Okay, so let me see if I understand that one. That you're saying the first one is you are very comfortable being alone, which is not necessarily toxic, stand alone. But when you get into a relationship, you don't know how to then share yourself with a partner, but you like that as well. So it's toxic in the sense of you don't know how to, or you are not willing. Maybe you know how, but you're like a bit reluctant. Maybe not willing. You're reluctant to let go fully and say, now I have a partner, we do things together. You still want to be as individual as you would like within a relationship. And that's a bit toxic for your partner, but you like it. That's the first one. And then the second one is with regards to a woman using sex as a way to control you. And you're saying, nah, that's absolutely not possible. So for the first one, I agree that there's something toxic there that you would like, if I'm correct with the interpretation. The second one, I think a woman using sex to control you and you making sure that that's not possible, I think that's 100% not toxic for my books. But maybe I'm also just like you
not
and
from
I.
women. Exactly. But I would argue that any woman on this planet would like that. So
They want to be able to control you with sex.
for sure. For sure.
Nah,
they might not do that. But they would,
that's a
they would
toxic
want to
thing
have
for
that
them.
power.
They would want to have that
They
power.
will not agree to that. They will not agree to that. But I guarantee you, in their minds, I'm not saying most, and I would argue every.
It's not just sex. I would hope that if I'm in a relationship with a woman, she's not just bringing sex. She's bringing peace. She's bringing calm. She's bringing support. And a presence, I vibes.
I'm arguing in the sense of what we have going on around in terms of
have you not been with
right
a
now.
woman that you're like, the sex is not the best, but she's the absolute best?
I have. I mean, as a matter of fact, not once, not twice. But my argument is, if that same woman still knows for sure that the sex bit is not there, she would trade all other things that you tell her that you value away
for
to just have
saying
the sex
she's the best.
Yes.
Yeah, that's our own problem. I'm not just using this as a response for it.
No, I'm
means that
thinking
they
from
can
a
bring,
woman's
they have
perspective.
other things that can, okay.
For sure.
So for you know that there are other things they bring to the table. But for them, they believe that the biggest thing they bring to the table is the sex.
Not the belief. I feel like in the core of it, that's the one that they feel like holds you, which is not true. But I feel like,
yeah. I will have to ask a woman how they feel about this. A woman that is willing to be honest with us. I'm a bit reluctant to agree with that.
Really?
Might be suffering from the point of they say A and they mean B, Because I think every woman would disagree. They, in fact, want to move away from where not just about sex.
You feel like you can tell any woman right now that, you know what? Yeah, if you decide to, place on, I will be fine. Don't worry. And she won't be bothered about that.
Oh, she could be bothered. I think the border will be coming from, I believe, that men is all about sex. If you would ask a woman what they think drives a man, they will say sex. So I think it might not be coming from them feeling like that's all they can bring to the table. They're also making the assumption that sex is the thing that you want the most as a man. And that's where it's coming from. So we know that sex is not what we want the most.
Yeah.
But they think sex is what we want the most.
They don't think that's what you want the most. They think they need to have that over here.
The only reason it's a good leverage is because they believe that you want it. But then for you are saying it's not a leverage that will work because you're not going to die on I want that sex. A leverage is only functional if it is relevant to the other party.
But it has to be in a relationship, right?
I mean, in a relationship, I would hope that it is. Yeah, but
in a normal
I guess
functioning
today
relationship.
Exactly. You might want a sexual relationship. For me, I believe that sex is very important. That intimacy is very important for a very good functioning relationship. But I'll also hate for it to be used as a leverage. So those will be like one of my strongest moments of pettiness, where I'll be like, even if I want that sex,
and that's
that
the point I'm
thing
making.
will not happen.
Exactly. Not because I don't, but I would not allow myself to be controlled. Bro.
I don't think that's a toxic trait. I think that's you just being a reasonable man. I think the moment sex is now a tool to control you as a man, you should go and wash your head in the river. Because
that's the point I made. That's why I made it toxic in that regard. Because then a lot of men will need to wash their head in the river, bro. You don't know how.
Yep. They need to. That will be my conclusion. Yeah, they need to wash their head. I know a lot of men are messed up when it comes to sex, and they need to wash their head in the river.
They are not messed up. They are victims. Bro, I said what I said, man.
Victims of what?
I don't know what the word is called. Well, of the situation where your wife is holding sex in the marriage as a leverage or as a sort of punishment.
And why? How is that possible? If not that the man allowed it. So, if my wife in marriage will hold sex as a tool to control me, I see that as a huge breach of agreement. It's a huge breach of contract.
I don't think it will come up as, oh, no, you are not getting it. It will come off as,
I think
I'm not feeling well. No, I would argue
after a while, you see a pattern. We're not stupid. Like after a while, you'll be like, okay, you're not feeling well today. Come, how can I be of help? How can I make you feel good? We don't need to have sex. But then tomorrow, the day after, and now we're 6 months and you're still not feeling well for sex. I've taken you to the hospital in 1 month. We cannot survive 6 months.
It's not as simple. It's what I would
you giving that.
No,
I think every man that is happening to, they know that their woman is just not in the mood, that their woman is not giving it to them, and they see it as a problem. Whether they are doing,
but they are also empathizing with the partner in the sense of, oh, this is why I think this is going on.
I think they stopped empathizing a long time. I think the empathy thing actually ends after a few months. They probably don't raise it like that so that it's not like, why are you stressing me? You're not a good husband. I've been in pain. But I think every man knows when the woman is not making herself.
He said every man knows. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Okay.
Yeah, but it's not difficult to know, right? Like, how can we go
argue
4 months,
argue
5
for
months?
yourself, man.
You think it's possible to go 5 months and then after 5 months, I'm still understanding that, yeah, it's possible.
It happened to me. But then I was less aware. But then it did happen to me.
I see.
And imagine still happening to, if I didn't learn from the experience that I had, it later happened to me in the future, in a marriage.
You probably, yeah. I see what you're saying. Maybe I shouldn't be
fact, a lot of men are into it's not everyone, bro. Because women won't come to you and be like, oh, no, this is why I'm pissed at you, or like, nah, I'm not available for you. Nah, it will always come. Yeah, there will always be.
Yeah, but for me, I think in moments where it seems like something like that was happening, I will do my best to quickly raise it after like the third week. Like, I'm counting, no. I'm counting. This actually leads to my own favorite toxic trait that I secretly admire in myself. I think my toxic trait is that I tend to be too logical, which in many moments also blinds me to the true emotion of what's going on. It's not always good, right? Sometimes we have to remember that we're still humans, and emotions is a big part of us. And I think my toxic trait is just that I like it. I don't want it to change because it allows me to get through this kind of situation that you described. When someone is gone, and I have a partner that is grieving to the point that is affecting the present, it's affecting our own life, our own marriage. My brother, I will raise it.
You will raise it, but the outcome will still not change.
I will, and if the outcome is not changing,
It's
I
not
will still
changing,
see
yeah.
it as a breach. I will still see it as a breach of agreement. The
For
only
sure.
difference here is I probably won't see it as a breach of agreement. Maybe without the grieving story, I will already see a 3 weeks old as a breach of agreement. But maybe this.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you for sure.
You have a period
Yeah.
for if you've not just given birth, you have a period that we should at least be doing. Like, let's say we're super busy, everything is tough. Let's still at least do 3 times a month. Right, but so yeah, and you see me being very generous now. You know that 3 times a month it doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm being generous. I'm being generous to say life is hard.
Yeah.
Bro, life is hard. Rain is falling inside our house. We still do that 3 times a month. I think that's the worst case scenario. I was sick for 2 weeks, you know? So we decided we'll quickly catch up on the 3 times a month. Ideally, we should do twice or 3 times a day, but that's on the other side. And we're not going 1 month. We're not going 1 month. Nothing. Bro, we're going 1 month. Nothing. So I will say, okay.
Yeah.
After 1 month, I'll be like, there's a problem. But if there's grieving involved, maybe I'll wait 3 months. But you can grieve as we are smashing. Like, you cannot be, like, you can't, no.
For sure, I'm with you
Like,
now, but
you know what will happen
missing-
to me?
Yeah,
You know what will
yeah.
happen to me? She'll be grieving, right? This person is not your boyfriend. I'm your husband. So you are grieving. It has to be that she's not going to work. She cannot function. Because if she's functioning, our agreement of intimacy has to be held. Imagine you are grieving. You are denying me sex. And we're watching comedy. You're laughing. Ha ha ha. How? Are you mad? Are you alright?
I know.
Yeah, what's funny here? That's exactly what
I know what you mean, but I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know. Okay, you explain why you came to that conclusion, like you are overly logical and sometimes you're also, which makes sense, right? But for me, I feel like, yeah, I like to be logical, but I understand that I can also get to this emotional bit that makes me, but bro, not also in this situation, man. And I know for sure a lot of men. Now, not having gone through what I went through, man, bro. Because what happens then is, it doesn't help anyone. You become resentful. And exactly what you discussed about watching comedy. Not even comedy, any slight thing, bro. You are angry. You are pissed. You are boiling in this rage inside you. Now,
I had a girl that would do this stuff. If we want to meet and today is supposed to be a day to play around, she will have bloating. She will have this. She will have that. Like, it didn't take me 1 or 2 minutes to quickly realize that, wow, she was just trying to, have good times and keep herself. Cool, keep yourself, but don't have a good time with me with the disguise of us being together. If we're just friends, it's a different story. But if we have something more than that, and you're now, bruh,
it's easier at the beginning.
I just woke up one day and I realized that.
So like it's easier at the beginning, like marriages I believe are quite complicated.
Yeah, marriage is difficult. Let me tell you, there's one scenario, and for my future wife to hear this as well. There's absolutely one scenario where I don't complain about being deprived. Only one scenario. I'm getting it outside like mad.
For sure.
This is the peak of empathy that I have.
Yeah.
Oh, baby, you don't want to do it tonight? Oh, so sorry. I'm getting my sucked in the office tomorrow.
Boy,
Just so you know.
men are doing that actually now, I believe. Because I
Yeah,
was also watching
bruh.
this lady. She's a retired escort. I just stumbled on her YouTube podcast, like, and I was watching, and she was talking a lot about it, man. And she's like, "Yo," and I agree. I don't also, I didn't check any data right now, but I know a lot of men are in such marriages, and she was also confirming that, right? Like, you like always most of our customers are like men deprived in marriages that they never envisioned themselves that they would be with an escort or whatever. And bro, for sure, a lot of men are in that situation, and yeah,
Yeah, maybe
that can
what will
never
make
be
me
me.
terrible is that my logical sense would tell me,
Exactly.
dude,
sure.
you can't
Get
be
out.
spending money on escort, right? And your wife is grieving. She's grieving. After like 6, maybe 3 months, I've raised it, no solution. 6 months, in respect for the sanctity of our marriage and family to keep things together. I think escorts will leave too many trails of waste of money. Why will I be paying someone to have enjoyment together? I'll get a proper girlfriend. I will get a proper girlfriend. It doesn't have to be love. It might be. It will potentially be 100% physical. Out of respect,
Yeah.
again, you see how very empathetic I am. I'll keep
I mean, I
the-
agree with you.
I'll keep the space for my wife.
Yeah.
No, it's unacceptable. Maybe one thing that I
Yeah,
can
it's
add on
not.
to it is, without making it as a threat, I will propose it as a solution for my dilemma. Baby, you've been grieving. Baby, I'm this fool. See, if I
I can't sleep. Bro,
it might come out. So please, baby, one time.
I think having that conversation, it hasn't reached peak. If it has reached peak, the only
Yeah.
feeling that I know you'll be feeling, that I was feeling when it happened, was rage. Bro. Imagine non-sexual rage. If you are raging now, you are being sexual, you are relaxing. The rage is calm. But a rage that is inside you, that is not getting out, bro.
You know, in movies, once you castrate a guy and sex is out of his matter, these are the best warriors and stuff. When they go to war,
For
they
sure.
rage, they
Exactly.
pure anger of something I like better. Yeah, but I already told my favorite toxic trait as well, and I don't want this to change. And I think I have people around me that balances out the emotional bit, to call it out and be like, Malik, you're being too logical there. I mean, we have conversations and you're like, Malik, you are being too logical there. That's not real. There is emotions involved and I need to account for that. It's not that logic won't be able to accommodate emotions, but maybe I'm not as emotional enough to make sure that I always account for that. But that's why I also appreciate a trait that I have. I talk to people that are close to me for their input, for their opinion, and that allows me to balance it out. So I don't want it to change, but for sure it's a toxic trait because it makes me sometimes not as empathetic as I should be, because it's so clear in my eyes that that's the way, that's the solution, or that's the outcome or something. And
Yeah, it makes things easier, to be honest, but maybe not for everyone, but for you. But like, yeah, I feel like life would definitely be easier in a sense because emotions make things complicated. They make decision making super complicated. It's the exact reason you would justify why you will still be in a marriage that is depriving you and all these things, So yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And that's it for this subsection today. We have many more, and I think we'll continue this in the future because I really enjoyed the conversation. And I even got a new story from you after so long. We've been talking for so long, and like we discuss every day. And this particular
one is that?
episode where I've never heard about the tantalizers one on the gift
The school
prize
one.
giving
Oh,
day
okay,
one as well.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's it for the episode. Really appreciate that we have spent a good deal of time in this very fun one, and would hope that everyone watches and comments, and there's so much to discuss. We would really like to hear your opinions about the things that we've talked about as well, and we look forward to your comments, your like, your subscription. follow, and we're on every platform: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Thread, Spotify. See you again next time. Cheers. Peace.